This is an introduction to Access. It's a database. I have a file open. It's Santa's list. I open up Santa's list. What we see looks like an upside down, I should say an Excel spreadsheet, except the tab name is here. It's showing all the names of the kids that Santa's given gifts to. Very simply done. And then we have this other one called Elf. We have 3 elves here, okay? They are assigned like elf number 3, elf number 1, elf number 2. It's a one-to-many relationship, okay? Now, what I want to do here, this is the beauty of the Access. You've got this list here of the kids, a list here of the elves. However, that would be 2 separate sheets in a workbook. You want to create a relationship between the 2 of them. And Access has a lot of rules. Not going to talk about them specifically and why, but you just do them. If you try not to think too much, you'll be okay. I'm going to click on Database Tools. I want to create a relationship. And so I just click here, and then double click here, close this out. And what it is, you want to put the field that has something in common. Like one elf has many kids. You click on elf, you drag it over to here, let go. You check these boxes off, and what it is, then you click on create. You've got this little infinity. I call it the double ring ceremony. This way they are married. If you don't get that ceremony in here, you won't see the relationship. I close out of this, I saved it, I open up elf. Now if I look at what Snowflake is doing, Snowflake has 4 people where it says your name, shows that there. I can collapse these things. That is the beauty of it. So we've got these relationships established, which is very powerful. If you're in a list here, you can also filter the data. Let's say I want to find all the kids that live in Trumbull. Different ways of doing it. I open up the table, I click on filter, I'm in Trumbull, filter. I could uncheck all of these, click on Trumbull, say OK. I'm using version 2016/365. Works very similarly with previous versions with a few enhancements. And it's got that narrowed down. You can go into many more narrowing down. So you could go from like 82,000 people down to 12 people if you're doing a narrowing down. I'm going to close this out. You could say we didn't really change the design, but I'm just going to say no. And what it is here, let's say you've got another, you're going to add a record here, okay? And I'm going to show you something that will go wrong. So we got Fred Johnson, and then he lives in Chicago. Spell it right. He's a boy. Time zone tune. We hit yes for the Y there. Now it worked. And he wants an iPad. Try to spell correctly. This is a social security number, an ID. It's a unique thing here. So if I were to do this, it's duplicating it here. And I'm going to say he's assigned to elf number 4. I hit the tab here. We're going to have some problems here. You can't have duplicate values in the index here, okay? So I'm going to say okay. Now I'm going to just make that 2213. Now, we had that elf table. There's only 3 people in it. So I say okay. Now, watch this. I open up the elf table, and I'm just going to go in here, and I'm going to say 4, and I'm going to say mistletoe, and she was hired July 1st of this year. I hit 7-1. It puts in the year. Now I close out of this. You don't have to keep saving. Now if I hit the tab key, it's going to work. The things are matching. So if I close that out, I open up Elf, I look at what Mistletoe's doing. She's got Fred Johnson. So we've got that in there. Now let's say we want to add a field to the elf table. The elf table. Let's say we want to put down what their salary is. It's going to be a raise or whatever, but let's just do this right now. You can do it right here. I can say click to add. You have different types of fields that you can do. I click on currency because it's a salary. It says field 1 here. I'm just going to type in salary. And then I could just type in number. Oops. That was 1. Be careful. So these are our little elves and what they're making. I can close out of this. I don't need to save. It's in there. I'm going to go into the Santa's list here. We've got a lot of information in here. Let's say we need to add additional information. We can go into the design view. This shows how the fields are set up. Short text, number, yes, no, number. You've got many choices here. So what it is here, let's say I want to add another field to this table. And let's just say it's middle initial, middle name I should say. You don't want spaces in them. You can get away with it. I try to adhere to rigid rules. Middle underscore name. And then you've got that here. It says short text. It can be up to 255 characters. I can make it 35. So I've got that in there. I want to go and do my data entry. I click on view, data sheet view. It wants to save the table. Yes. So if I just want to type in a couple of little names, Philip, I could type in Joseph, Laura. You're getting the idea, okay? Now I'm going to close out of this. Next thing I want to do, I want to talk about doing a query. This is very powerful. Other thing too, I want to talk about adding information. When you're doing things, adding information, relationships, you want things closed out. What it is, I have a spreadsheet with a whole bunch of people. And what I want to do here, do you see where it says external data? I click on, you can export to other things here. A lot of things. New data source. I'm going to go from a file, from Excel. I'm going to browse. I'm going to find the file here, the Santa list. I have a spreadsheet. You got to have the spreadsheet closed or it won't work. You've got 3 choices here. I'm going to add these records to the Santa's list database. I say okay. It's showing all these names here. So what I do here, you just look at the wizard. Pretty straightforward. Next, you want to add it here. I click on finish. It wasn't able to do this. There were violations here. Field size properties could be wrong. Doing this deliberately, I'm going to say no. Cancel by user. And I'm going to hit the cancel here. This is Santa's list. Now I'm going to go into Excel. This is the spreadsheet here. This is what we have here. We want to add these people here. And I could see maybe what the problem would be. I'm in here. I'm going to go back into the access. I have do I have a Joanne Garcia in here? Yes. I have a duplicate information in here, okay? I'm going to delete this Joanne here. You can't put her in twice. There's a violation. So if I want to get rid of a record, you can do some undoing here. However, you cannot undo deleting a record. So if I go into here, I just highlight the row, hit the delete key, or right click, delete record. You can't undo it. So what it is, I'm going to close this out. I have to close out of Excel now. Otherwise, I'm in trouble. So what it is, external data, new data source from file, Excel, browse, put it on this table here, choose the correct name. You have to be precise. Say OK. It shows all the fields here. Next. It's going to go to this table. You can get a wizard to analyze it. I'm going to hit the finish. We're still having a problem. Doesn't match, or the field size, say if records were lost, the records were in here. I'm going to say no. And I'm going to hit the cancel. So let's look again. We've got this here. And I'm going to go into Excel. I'm doing this deliberately because you will have some issues. And you can see you have to have the field names have to be precisely the same too. So I've got these people in here. I'm going to go back into Access. And I want to see, we got John Gift from Rooster. And if I look over here, I have that other problem too. And the other thing too here, you have to have things set up as number fields, other things here. It's not frightening. Just be careful. Close this out. Close this out. I'm going to try this again. New data source here. From file. You can take it from another Access database too. Excel. Browse. Santa's list. Append a copy to the table called Santa's list. Say OK. Go to the next step. Finish. Close. Open this up. Ta-da. If you're doing several thousand records you're adding from a data dump from a website, you're going to be happy that you have this ability. You just set it up correctly. It will work just fine. I'm going to close this out, and I want to just show you one quick query. I'll be doing more of these in the class as well as online. So if I want to create a query, we say create. Wizards are good in certain ways. I like query design. Much easier. I'll double click on query design. I'm just going to work with Santa's list. Close. Now let's say I just want to find the kids that live in Yonkers. Stretch this down. I could just go in here. City. And I'll add a couple of little things here. So if I want to find them in Yonkers, see the row here called criteria? I just type in Yonkers. It's not case sensitive. It puts quotes around it. I run the query, the exclamation point here. I'm finding 4 of the children in Yonkers, okay? Now let's say I want to find the kids that want a coloring book. I put on the same line, run the query. So I'm finding all the kids in Yonkers that want coloring books. And then I could save. You're going to name the query. I'm going to say Yonkers Kids Coloring Book. That way Santa knows how many to order. Say OK, and it shows the query here. I can close out of that if I want to. If I lose the full toolbar up here, just double click on any word. So this is an introduction to Access. A couple more videos to follow.